my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today is May the 1st, and you know what that means. We're just 3 days away from Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and we're also finally in the month of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and Star Wars Celebration. Things are really picking up, and hopefully in the next few days, we do get a second trailer, a final trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Fingers crossed. But in today's video, we do have some exciting news for the Kenobi series, and make sure to stay to the end of the video because I'm going to be covering quite an obscure but really interesting interview with the animatronics designer on Star Wars Andor. And he had quite a few things to say about Disney Star Wars. But without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. We begin with the Kenobi series and arguably the biggest piece of news of the day. Yesterday at the ICCC fan convention, Ian McDiarmid was a special guest, and as you would expect, he spoke about his iconic role as Palpatine throughout the saga. He fondly reminisced about what it was like working with George on the original trilogy and prequels, and he also told a really funny story about how his famous and very memeable line from episode 3, "Do It," came about. But then, they got onto the subject of if we can expect to see the Emperor again soon in an upcoming Disney Plus series, and it turns out he divulged way more than what we as fans could ever have expected. In his own words, he said the following: "There's a certain show coming soon, set right around the time I may have considered to be very active. Whether or not you will see my physical body, I cannot comment on, but you will certainly feel my presence." Ooh. And without realizing it, my dear Mandalorians, this is a huge reveal that basically confirms that we are getting more Granddaddy Palps, but from the way he words it, it kind of sounds like it's going to be a hologram. And I suppose the bigger question is, what series is it for? The most likely suspects are of course the Kenobi show, Andor, and the Bad Batch Season 2. Personally, my money is on the Kenobi series, where I think he's going to appear as a hologram when Vader reports back to him. But then again, the Andor series is also a likely choice, given the recent leaks of Imperial Royal Guards appearing. And as for the possibility of the Bad Batch, with Mount Tantis presumably playing a major role in Season 2, he could have done some voice work for it. If you remember last year, Ian McDiarmid was reported to have filmed scenes for an undisclosed project, and many Star Wars fans connected the dots back to it being a Disney Plus series, most likely a Star Wars show. And with his revealing words yesterday, this makes me think it was either for Kenobi or the Andor series. And who knows, it could be both. He could play a minor role in both of these shows. But he did specify it's for one of the upcoming series, and just like pretty much every other fan, I would love to see Ian again as Palpatine, especially earlier in the timeline when the Emperor is very active, as he says, and at peak unlimited power. Now I will say, even if it is just a hologram, including Ian in a show like Kenobi is just the cherry on top of a show that's already slated to give us tons of fan service, and I think you kind of need him in a show that involves Vader and of course the Inquisitors.
I need him! I need him! I need him!
And so now, my dear friends, speaking of Kenobi, we do have another update. The rating for the show has been revealed. Until now, all 11 big screen Star Wars outings have received a PG or PG-13. And this continued into the Disney Plus live-action spin-offs, as they earned a rating of TV-14 for The Mandalorian and TV-12 for The Book of Boba Fett. And now, ahead of Ewan McGregor's return to the galaxy far, far away, the rating for his show has fans in a state of surprise. Disney Plus has listed the Obi-Wan Kenobi series with a TV age rating of 9+, which is notably way lower than the live-action Star Wars Disney Plus series that came before it. Now, before coming to any conclusions about the series, because I have seen some people say it's going to be less violent and so on, there are a couple of things to bear in mind. First of all is the fact that this is likely just for the teaser trailer and the first couple of episodes, ratings are known to change as series progress. A great example of this is Marvel's WandaVision. That series saw its rating go from TV-12 to TV-14 after its first couple of episodes. And I should also point out that Hayden Christensen himself has said how brutal Vader is going to be in this show. The Making Star Wars leaks back this up too, with a more twisted side to young Vader. Not to mention, and big spoiler warning, that the young Jedi Nari who seeks out Obi-Wan is going to be hung by the third sister. So while you might at first assume that a 9+ rating indicates that everything in the Kenobi series is going to be appropriate for young viewers, that's not the case. This is subject to change as the series progresses beyond episodes 1 and 2. As we know, guys, there are 6 episodes in total, and the first 2 are releasing on May the 27th. What a treat, 26 days to go, I simply cannot wait. And so now, my dear friends, we have an update for the Andor series, and this is something that I accidentally stumbled across that I've not seen anyone else mention. This article is somewhat obscure. It's called How Hatching's Creepy Creature Compares to Those in Star Wars Andor. It's a really fascinating interview with animatronics designer Gustav Hogan, who not only worked on Hatching, but is also a Star Wars veteran, having worked on The Force Awakens, Solo, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, and most recently Star Wars Andor, and what he had to say was certainly eyebrow-raising. It seems as though his recent experiences working with Star Wars have kind of put him off working on the franchise, or as he calls it, Star Wars fatigue. He does say he still loves Star Wars, but as a creative and designer, he did not appreciate people watching over his every move, especially for the sequel trilogy. Let's dive into the article from Mashable. Hogan's journey from becoming an animatronics designer began with the galaxy far, far away. His father took him at an early age to see Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. He says, from then on, I was mesmerized by practical effects. His interest leaned towards fantasy, horror, and science fiction movies. And so this is the part where he talks about Star Wars. Hogan's dream job led him to working on Star Wars productions, creating animatronics for The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Solo, The Rise of Skywalker, and the upcoming TV series Andor. On those productions, there were armies to create a galaxy of critters. And this is what he said. Everything is under one roof, so when we did The Force Awakens, obviously they have a script, but they don't quite have an idea of what kind of creatures or characters this world inhabits. To sort of feed the imagination, there would be a whole design team on hand, and they would just pump out design after design after design. Now, unfortunately, when he was asked about the Andor series, he would not spill any secrets. He didn't say anything about the kind of creatures we'll see, but he does describe them as, quote, really impressive. Next up, he compares Hatching to Andor, describing his experience on Hatching as being a different sort of satisfaction compared to working on Star Wars. In his own words, he says, this will stay with me much longer than, say, Andor, and from a technical point of view, what I had to do for Hatching was far more complicated than I had to do for Andor work-wise. And finally, he describes how he has a sort of personal pride for Hatching. He still assures that he loves doing Star Wars, but in his own words he says, God, how many have I done now? About 7. A bit of Star Wars fatigue creeps in. And while he sounds far more bleak on the Star Wars front of things, he does say about the Andor show, quote, people are going to love it, and it's going to look fantastic. And look, if you read between the lines, it comes down to creative freedom, something that all designers would want. Hannah Bergholm gave him more creative reign than J.J. Abrams did, and it sounds like Hatching was much less pressured, where he was able to express himself and be immersed in the process without having to pump out design after design in a much shorter space of time. I guess you would expect that for Star Wars, but that is what led him to this so-called Star Wars fatigue. I'm sure he did an amazing job on Star Wars Andor, and I can't wait to see it. But with that said, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of this Star Wars news update. If you enjoyed it, let me know down below, give this video a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and a massive welcome if you are. But until the next one, guys, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, have a good one.